Hi, this is Luck God. Today I have a 50-point game for you. This is Sturgis versus Severius. The scenario is entrenched. Signar turn 1. The chain gun and the grenadier both move up and dig in. The centurion runs and turns slightly sideways. Sturgis then activates, casts snipe onto the defender, walks up 6, casts arcane shield on the centurion, hits it twice with his initials at dice -11, does no damage, but triggers chain attack flash, so moves up 3 inches and then teleports a further 6 inches for a total move of 15. And this puts him into a trench to threaten the Daughters of the Flame should they move towards him. Everything else in the Signar army just runs up. Men off turn 1. Severius allocates to all of his jacks so they can run and benefit from Oracular Vision to negate a damage roll. He then casts a free Hex Blast at Sturgis, who is in a trench, but it fails to hit. He puts Arcane Ward on the Daughters of the Flame, and they run up to the right. The choir sings for passage, protecting them from all of my shooting, and the Covenant of Menoth walks up and uses Power of the Faith to prevent knockdown.
Signar turn 2. Sturgis allocates 1 to each of his jacks and upkeeps Arcane Shield and Snipe. The Centurion uses Polarity Shield and runs up and stays out of the Menoth Jack's walking threat ranges. The Grenadier then shoots into the Daughters of the Flame, auto-missing due to stealth, but kills 2 with scattering AoEs. The chain gun then lays down a covering fire to prevent them from charging. The defender walks up and puts a boosted attack and damage roll into either the Hierophant or the Vassal. I can't remember which he had in the army, but whatever it was, it died. And then the gun mages walk up and kill 2 choir members. The Stormblades mini feat for Iron Zeal and position to charge next turn. Sturgis moves backwards to safety. Men off turn 2. Severius upkeeps Arcane Ward and allocates to his jacks again. The Reckoners both move up into the zone and shoot at the defender, doing about a third of his boxes. The Centurion moves up next to them into the zone. The Blessing of Vengeance moves up further into the zone. The Daughters run around behind the wood to avoid being shot at. The choir sing passage again, and the Covenant uses its no knockdown ability again. Severius casts Rebuke onto the Stormblades, preventing them from charging next turn, and then he feats and only gets to choose 3 of my models, which take a power 12 damage roll each, and if they're killed he gets to place a 4-inch AoE, which becomes a hazard for my models next round. He picks a gun mage next to the defender, the furthest forward Stormblade and the Stormblade officer. The gun mage and the Stormblade grunt both die, but the officer lives due to having 5 health and Iron Zeal active. Signar turn 3. Sturgis upkeeps Arcane Shield, and the mechanics walk up and fix the gun arm of the defender. Sturgis then walks over to the right and puts Snipe onto the Grenadier, which then shoots into the Blessing of Vengeance, choosing the Jack Marshall ability for +2 range damage when you aim. He fires all 3 shots, critical brutal, gets 1 crit and does some chip damage to the Blessing of Vengeance. The gun mages then walk up and 2 of them manage to shoot into the Daughters of the Flame, but with Arcane Ward they're defense 16, so only 1 of them dies. The others then shoot into the Covenant of Menoth or the Blessing of Vengeance, doing a few points to the Covenant, but not much to the Blessing of Vengeance. Still unable to shoot the Warjacks due to passage, the defender shoots at the Covenant and does 1 point of damage. The Stormblades, unable to charge, just walk up and shoot into the Crusader, doing a few points of damage to it. The Centurion stays put and puts up Polarity Shield again. Men off turn 3. Severius upkeeps Arcane Ward, allocates to his jacks. The Blessing of Vengeance walks up, kills the gun mage that I've put into the zone. The two Reckoners shoot at the Centurion and the Defender, doing some damage to each. Sevi casts Ashes to Ashes, killing some Stormblades, and the Crusader then finishes off the last few Stormblades in the zone. Sevi is in the zone, so he dominates and scores 1 point. The Daughters of the Flame, unable to charge due to covering fire, run to engage some of the Signar models. Signar turn 4. Sturgis allocates to the Centurion and upkeeps Arcane Shield. He walks over and boosts to hit on both of the Daughters that are engaging the Chain Gun and the Grenadier. He kills both of them and teleports into the zone. The Trench Chain Gun then aims and shoots all its shots into the final Daughter of the Flame, allowing Sturgis to dominate the zone for 1 control point. The Gun Mages then walk to engage some of the men off Warjacks and take shots at the Covenant, leaving it on 1 health. The Defender then finishes it off. The Stormblades, now free of Rebuke, charge the Crusader. But the Standard Bearer hangs back a bit. The Mechanics split up to heal both the Jacks. The Centurion then charges an angle which blocks charge lanes for the Reckoners due to his objective. His charge attack is nullified by the Crusader spending a focus for Oracular Vision. The Crusader survives with a few health boxes, but is a little bit crippled. Men off turn 4. I forgot to take a picture of this one, sorry. In this turn, unable to charge the Centurion, he decides to clear the zone and score again, and to try and contest my zone also. The Reckoner kills both of the Gun Mages, engaging the Blessing of Vengeance. Severius then arcs a Ashes to Ashes through the Blessing of Vengeance into the Defender, doing some damage to hit and killing both the Gun Mages and the Mechanic nearby. This clears up a lane for the Blessing of Vengeance to run into the right hand zone to contest. The Crusader then kills the 2 Stormblades that are in the zone, and Sevi dominates the zone, making the score 2-1 to men off. Signar turn 5. Sturgis upkeeps Arcane Shield on the Centurion again and allocates to the Defender. The Centurion is outside of his control range. The Stormblade Standard Bearer, which is the last Stormblade left, charges the Crusader, finishing it off, which allows the Centurion to walk up into the zone and make attacks on the objective, leaving it on a couple of boxes. The Mechanics then charge into the objective, and at dice minus 12, one of them manages to get a dice spike and finish off the objective. The Grenadier runs into the zone to contest, as does the last remaining Gun Mage. The Defender then starts attacking Blessing of Vengeance and finishes off the Light Jack with Focus to Spare due to the earlier damage it took in the game. Sturgis dominates his zone to make the score 3-2 to Signar. Men off turn 5, and again I forgot to take a picture. It was quite a quick turn, and we were a bit pressed for time in the club. With Arcane Shield on the Centurion, it proved a bit of a tough nut to crack. The Mechanics all got killed to prevent any more repairing, and between the Reckoners and Severius, who casts Creator's Wrath on himself and charged into the Centurion, which the spell gives him an additional die on attack and damage rolls, as well as the ability to ignore the Arcane Shield. He does some really good damage to the Centurion, but it survives on a couple of boxes with just its movement. Sturgis dominates his zone again for the score to be 4-2 to Signar. Signar turn 6. So Sturgis could just do nothing and win on scenario, but we wanted to see if it was possible for what I had left to kill Severius. He'd kept a focus on himself for Oracular Vision and maybe one for negating damage with spending for reducing the damage by 5. He used Oracular Vision when the Stormblade Standard Bearer charged into him. The Centurion couldn't hit him because it was too crippled. And between the Grenadier choosing the Jack Marshall bonus for 2 attacks, and the Gun Mage Officer shooting him with Crit Brutal, which didn't crit, Severius had about 4 to 5 health left. So the defender walks up to get line of sight, boosts a hit needing a 12 to hit him, and manages to get a 12. And Severius goes down, and it's a signal of victory. So I'm hoping to be a lot more regular with posting battle reports from now on. If you've enjoyed this battle report, please take a second to click like or subscribe. If you have any comments, questions or requests for the channel, please let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.